Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to the Parsha of the week, Parshat Tezei. The Torah speaks about if you go out to battle and you may take a hostage, you may marry her, you'll have a child, and then the next part speaks about having a child from your regular wife and from your hostage. And then the Torah speaks about a ben sorer or murder, a boy who goes off to derech. Rashi explains that the Parsha is really talking about someone who has succumbed to the Yetzer Hara. Torah understands when you're in the heat of battle, your life is one big battle against the Yetzer Hara. And when you're in the heat of battle, sometimes you give in. Sometimes you'll accept that it's the Yetzer Hara, but you have no choice. You feel you have to give in. It happens. Torah says, but if you have a basis called the Yetzer Hara, then what happens is that the child may not turn out so good. If we succumb once, we succumb twice, succumb 3 times, it happens that children don't always follow the path of the parents. And we have to learn to strengthen ourselves and try and do the right thing at all times. The Parsha goes on to speak about someone who does something wrong, and you're required to give him one of the punishments of Besdin, a death penalty. But you don't hang his carcass on the tree. You do it for the day, but you have to bury him. Why? Ki kilalas elikim tolui. The curse of God is hanging, right? What happens is, Rashi explains, and all the commentaries explain, kilalas elikim, it's not maybe that the person cursed God, it's the person made light of God. In other words, he didn't quite bring God into his life. He was disrespectful to him. But what? Even if you get a death penalty, even if things are very severe in your life, right, you still can't leave the carcass. You can't leave the body in a very embarrassed state. You have to take care of that person, right? Even if he made light of Hashem, you have to know that he is still a part of Hashem's creation. And you have to take him and bring him back into the fold. You have to do whatever you can. Torah goes on to tell us that if you build a house, you build a new house, if you have a roof that's accessible and you can walk upon the roof, you have to make what's called a ma'akeh, a fence around the roof. It has to be a certain height so that nobody should fall off that roof, right? Rashi explains, interestingly, that a person would fall off and get killed or hurt himself. It's his due. But you are not allowed to be the purveyor of such due. You are not allowed to allow things to happen that will hurt somebody else. You always have to be on guard. You have to take care of yourself. So you have to make a guard for the roof so that nobody falls off it. That's the mitzvah of the Torah. And Reb Nosson explains, that's an amazing thought. Your roof, in your own self, you have a roof. Who's the roof? Your brain, your mind. That's your roof, right? When you build a new house, you want to start off in life, you want to start off doing things right. What you have to be careful about is your mind. You have to make a guard for your mind. You have to surround it with guardians, with fences that will not allow you to have foreign thoughts. Thoughts of atheism, thoughts of philosophy, thoughts of adultery, and so on. You have to be very, very careful, right, to build a roof, to build a guard, a fence around your mind. Keep your mind clean, and Be'ez Hashem, everything will work out right. That's a very important point, because the mind has actually two working parts. One is called the brain, the intellect of a person, which tells him what's right and what's wrong. The other part of the brain is the imagination. Now, the imagination is an incredibly, incredibly powerful tool. That imagination could bring you to things that you never thought possible, right? Or as Thomas Edison said, I didn't fail 10,000 times when I wanted to make the light bulb. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work, till I finally was able, through his imagination, to get the right filaments and the right ideas in order to get the light bulb to work. The same thing is with us. We have failures. We have things that we do wrong. We have things that we fall into. Yeah, it happens. But we also have a brain, an intellect. The imagination can bring us to incredible inventions. Look what we've had today with the computers, with the airplane, with all the things that work for people today, the medical discoveries and whatnot. It's incredible. It's really amazing. The imagination brought us to that. But the imagination also brought us to many ideas and things that are not good. They're not healthy, not for the body and not for the soul. The internet has some beautiful, beautiful websites. It also has a lot of things that should never be shown, should never be allowed to be there. So we have to learn to make a fence around our minds. If we make a fence around our minds, then we'll be guarded, and Be'ez Hashem will be able to get through the day. Right? The Parsha goes on with many other items. It's a Parsha of many, many laws, many laws. And one of them is tzedakah, being able to help out other people. One is being careful about your employees. You must allow the employee to eat on the job. He has to be able to do certain things that will help him and whatnot. There's a lot of charitable and nice things that go on between employer and employee that we have to adhere to see. The employee, after all, he's working hard for a living. And the Elev who knows his nafshoy, and to his work, he is giving over his soul. He's giving what he has to be able to do the work. You have to respect him, and you have to give him whatever help you can. The Parsha concludes one part before the end, one passage before the end, is that your weights and measures should be exact. You shouldn't keep one measure for one person and another measure for another person. Weight. Today we have electronic scales, but in the old days they used to have a piece of metal or whatever, something like that, that weighed X amount, weighed 50 grams, 100 grams, 2 ounces, 10 ounces, whatever it was. You were able to put that on one side of the scale, and then you had the other side of the scale, the item that you were weighing. He says, don't play around with weights and measures, right? Why? The next thing that happens to that, is Amalek. The next passage right after it is Amalek. What you have is severe. If you're not honest in your business practices, then you have called upon Amalek to take care of you. God forbid, right? Amalek represents absolute evil, with the Torah in Shmos at the end of Peshalach tells us that you have to eradicate Amalek completely. There's a battle of Hashem with Amalek in every generation. What's the big deal? Hashem can get rid of him in any generation. No, but life has to go on. And people always have these tests. Should I be honest? Should I cheat a little bit? A little white lie? A little bit, so I make a little bit extra profit and whatnot, right? Amalek, Ayin, Mem, Lamed, Kuf, the letters of Amalek. If you total them, they add up to 240. The Hebrew word for doubt, Safek, Samech, Pei, Kuf, also adds up to 240. Amalek represents all the doubts and confusion and difficulties that we have in life. And as long as we're alive, there's going to be Amalek. That's why it's for generation to generation. We have to see to do our best to be as honest as we can, speak with as much honesty and sincerity as we can. And if we do that, we will be able to remember Amalek. We will be able to defeat Amalek, and we will see the coming of Mashiach and the building of the temple. Amen.